for Hero, we're really a student to our art form, right? And so we all maintain this mentality of like, we don't know anything and we need to continue to discover it. And so we all hold this very humble attitude that we're still progressively learning and we're doing today better than yesterday is kind of our mentality.
Welcome to Future Driven. I'm Adam Kopp, and on this podcast, I talk with entrepreneurs and industry professionals about the challenges and the wins in their business. See the vision, drive the future. Welcome to episode 25, lucky number 25, Mark of Future Driven Podcast. I'm here with Mark Davis of Hero Creative. Mark, thanks so much for joining me today.
Yeah, thanks for having me on, Adam. I'm excited.
Yeah, man. Well, it's always good to be connected with others in the industry. And so really looking forward to hearing about your background, your company, and all of the above. But where I like to really start out is kind of give us your quick career. You know, what led you to Hero? Because I assume you didn't come out starting with that. So what did you start out with and what led you up to launching your company?
Well, how long is your podcast? I've got a very colorful history.
Fair enough.
Well, actually, just right out of the gate, right out of high school, I was very interested in aviation. And so literally the night of my high school graduation, I turned pro in paragliding and packed my bags up and left. And that was my space. Literally paragliding, skydiving, and base jumping was my realm for about 10 years.
Cool.
And so everything that I did from like flight instruction to jumping, skydiving, whatever, was all wrapped around how can I make money out of seeking my passion for flying and jumping and doing all that stuff. So, I really kind of started early in my career with this very entrepreneurial spirit. It was always kind of like, how do you figure it out? Teaching people, owning my own flight school, a retail shop. And so I really had that kind of in my ecosystem for a very long time. But
I'd love to jump in really quick and find out how many flights or dives do you have? You got to give us some stats so we can kind of get our head wrapped around how many times you've jumped out of an airplane.
Well, airplane right around 3,000 skydives, about 80, 90 base jumps or so. And then I jump way up in paragliding to nearly 20,000, maybe a little bit over.
20,000 flights?
Yeah, 20,000 flights.
Wow.
So quite a lot. I mean, that was my space from, 15 lying about my age to get on a tandem flight to, all the way up into my, mid 30s, I guess. So
super cool.
Yeah, it was super fun.
And you said you were a professional at that?
Yeah, that was my job. I competed and flew full time, got to travel around all over the place and got to, seek my dreams out and teach people how to fly and compete along the way and make some money.
Nice. So you did that for 10 years, and then that's when you started to kind of become more of an entrepreneur. I mean, it sounds like you've always been an entrepreneur, but, you started to build a lifestyle or a business around that?
Yeah, not initially, actually. So the long of the short story of this is that I had a number of like really scary incidences, not only in skydiving but paragliding as well, and just started having a lot of friends die doing the sport and aerobatics and that kind of thing. And so it was a little bit of a game changer for me. And we ended up having a plane go down with 12 of our friends, and it was almost kind of like that pivotal moment where it's like, okay, I'm not sure if I can continue on doing this. And so I was like, well, I'm gonna go into sales or marketing and figure that out. And so basically, I started in a corporate job in a corporate marketing and sales organization with a very large website. And I worked my way up the ranks there pretty fast and kind of moved to a few different companies, a few different holding companies, and really learned a lot about websites and how they operate and how they kind of plug into different people and the personas, A/B testing, that kind of thing, and really helping people with marketing programs through websites. And so, lo and behold, I'm managing a ton of people. And I'm like, what am I doing? I'm traveling like 80% of my life. I'm literally passing my wife in the airport. And I stopped one day, and I'll never forget this. And I literally was on a flight going to Chicago for a meeting, and I did not get upgraded to first class. And I was sitting there like Adam, I had like a full on mental conniption over this. I was
Yeah.
like, I deserve to. I'm in a suit, and what are they doing? I'm 75K, whatever. And I'm like, a conniption. I sat down in the seat in coach, and I was like, what am I doing? Like, this is insane. This is coming from a kid who was making $150 a week at one point, sleeping under a blackjack table at a friend's house, couch surfing, homeless, and go to making ungodly sums of money for what I was doing. And here I am, not humble. And I'm like, that's not who I am. And so I went back and I was like, I need to start giving back. So I I basically went back to the company and was like, hey, I want to start doing philanthropic work, and specifically with the Make a Wish Foundation. And I said, I want to start writing line items in for some philanthropic work. And they axed it. And I said, well, that's the end of me. And I quit. And literally next day I opened up Hero Creative. It wasn't called that at the time, but I literally opened the agency up like within a couple of days, and started working with the Make a Wish Foundation almost straight away. And we were up and running, right out of the block, out of the gate. So we
Well,
bootstrapped to start, and
interesting.
it
So
happened.
what year was that?
So that was 2012. So we've almost been open for 10 years now. So
Okay.
yeah.
And in that company that you worked for before, how long were you with there with, or how long were you there with them?
I think it took maybe 3 years in
Okay.
total, 3.5 years. But it wasn't, so I kind of bounced around a little bit. But just a weird story. I actually was in a company and got approached by its competitor. And I
Okay.
was like, there's no way that I'm going to take this job. They're going to eat me alive. I'm not built for this other company. And they said, name your price. And I was like, in my head, I was like, don't do it, don't do it. And I named the price, and they were like, great. And so I ended up leaving that company, and I was only with that next company for a year. I just couldn't handle it anymore. So, but that was a little bit of a transformation, and along the way, kind of, refinding myself in the career path, because I think, for myself, I'm inherently a pretty humble individual. And when I started having those behaviors and mentalities, like I deserve these things, it's like so weird to me. And it's like, how did I get here?
Yeah.
And I actually attended a Make a Wish event for a kid who wanted to be a pirate for the day, and he was actually out with the Seafair Pirates. And so I attended that event, and I was like, my God, if I could only see life through a child's eyes for like 1 minute, living his wish out, what would that look like for me? And that was kind of what spawned the name Hero. Was one part, we do about 20% back to charitable contributions in our organization, and we really like the Make a Wish Foundation because it's kind of realigned my life quite quite significantly, I would say.
Well, that's a interesting, as you said at the beginning, kind of story, and it's kind of taken some turns and dips and dives. But yeah, no, that's super interesting. It's great, obviously, with your self realization there that I guess coming up on 10 years ago. So let's dig into Hero a little bit. So you pivoted, started, 10 years ago. So what has that journey been like for you? Kind of where do you fit in the whole ecosystem of agencies? And where do you thrive? What industries do you thrive in? And you touch based on the philanthropic part of it, and that's a big part of that's a big pillar of your company, I
Mhm.
presume.
Oh, it's huge. It's absolutely huge. So Hero, I mean, being a business owner, an entrepreneurial uh, background, um, being a business owner, Adam, as I mean, you are probably highly aware, it is the best and worst thing that will ever happen to you.
Of
As
course.
you know, and I'm the type of person where I will do it every which way wrong first before really figuring it out and hitting my stride. And so, early on, it was just like, no payroll. I had 15 employees at one point, and like it was just, no tracking system, no project management system. And to where we're at today, which is a very small boutique agency that works on global branding and marketing identity projects. And so that transition has been just wild. I mean, I think out of the gate, I scaled so fast in the company that it imploded kind of inherently, and
Yeah.
I wasn't paying attention to the scaling, and I was like, much like you are, I'm sure. I was up at night, like, how am I going to work payroll this month? You know what I mean? With all of those people and keep them busy on projects. You know what I mean? Keep them focused and energetic and that kind of thing. And so, Heroes just it's a real interesting agency. It's very, very diverse. We don't discriminate projects at all. We work on, everything from TV commercials, car commercials to like the most tiniest startup project. And what we focus on is less about like the big flashy projects. We focus on the people and the clients. And it's the clients that we really gravitate towards, because when we get involved with the project, we don't sleep until it's like absolutely perfected and it's super dialed. And now we're a group of very passionate individuals that are specialized in the identity space. So we build websites, brands, logos, identity, anything involving a pixel. We shoot a lot of photography and a lot of video production is kind of where we're at today.
Nice. So how big is your team?
So we're 4 people. We're really kind of 5 right now. We have a few people that shoot for us too in the production side. So we're small, but we clock one of the top 5, 10 branding agencies in Seattle, which is, that's not the end all. That doesn't really mean much, but it is what it is. I guess it's a little fact to tout.
Yeah, no, that's great. Well, and so 10 years, when and you talked a little bit about the struggles at the beginning. What year do you feel like you kind of started to pivot and understand truly who you wanted to be? And because I got to believe that, similar to myself and others, that you take on projects that don't align, and it kind of becomes one of those things. But the more you do it, the more you identify early on the ones that are the right fit or not the right fit.
Totally.
Make that decision.
Yeah, that's so funny, Adam, because I think really, really early in our conception, we were like following the bill, right? So we were following what our clients were asking for us to do. So, for example, we started dabbling in search engine marketing, so paid PPC campaigns, and we ended up taking over like 120 social media handles, and we're driving content through social media channels. And really, really quick, we just learned that those are very specialized industries that really require individuals that are hyper specialized in that world. And
Yep.
it requires its own set of technology, its own set of content syndicators. And we just found we weren't passionate with social media, although we develop and deliver content to social. We found that actually posting and doing that kind of thing was not something that we were passionate about. And then we also learned early on, PPC, we just weren't good at it, so we stopped doing it.
Yep.
And then we were also like literally taking on clients that were not a good fit for our company, and we're the type of agency that we hug our clients, and our clients love us. Um, so
So how are you dealing with COVID then? If you can't hug your clients as often as you'd like to, you must be struggling with it.
Well, we hug them through our video screen, right? No,
There you go.
I mean, COVID was. How was it for you guys?
It was pretty good. We managed to kind of weather the storm at the beginning, and it was, for me, it was an opportunity that 3 to 6 months, whatever you want to call it, that it was really kind of intense there. Not to say it's not intense now, but it was really the place to kind of tighten up the ship and understand kind of where we are and what we're doing. So it was 2020 was a pretty solid year in the grand scheme of everything, and 2021 just kind of followed suit.
Yeah.
But yeah, for Hero, what was it? How did you guys deal with 2020 and COVID and everything? Did that impact your business?
Yeah, I mean, it just in all transparency, I feel like we had really kind of 2 to 3 real big projects going on right as the COVID was ramping up.
Yep.
And it was to the point of where I was actually supposed to be in China in Shenzhen, which is very close to Wuhan,
Yeah.
like literally about maybe a month before it really started, people really started to identify what COVID was and what was going on with it. And I was literally meeting with this client. They're a very, very huge aerospace and defense company. And I was in New York meeting with them, and I was literally asking uh, one of the project leads for us, who's a brilliant, brilliant guy. It's like, hey, are you feeling like we're gonna do this China trip? And he was like, oh yeah, you'll be totally fine. It wasn't like 3 weeks later that it was really, kind of closing down. But I feel like if we didn't have those three clients, it would have been very scary, because the way that the pipelines work for agencies, it can be, you can send a proposal down or a bid down, and it could be a month later. But I don't know about you, Adam, but our bids just went to a trickle for like probably 3 months. And so, we were really hyper focused on the current project, but that transition for us was pretty easy, just with where those projects were. We had already finished our discovery, done all of our analysis work, and then the rest of it was all digital analytics, and persona development. So we had already finished like all the visuals and stuff like that when we were moving into the tail end of those projects. And then for us, it just kind of started picking back up again. But I'd be lying if I didn't say it was a very tumultuous time in Hero for us, for sure. So over COVID, ended up buying a partner out, and I'm the founder of Hero, and I brought in a partner who wanted to move off in a different direction. And that was a real tough time to be doing a partner buyout, with COVID happening at the same time. So
Yeah, it's
but
just the way it works sometimes, isn't it?
yeah, it's just kind of, when it hits the fan, it hits the fan.
Cool. So it sounds like you're in the agency world, very heavy on visual identity, branding. So do you work with a lot of startups? Or are you looking to help organizations refresh their brand? Give me like a case study example, if you will, of kind of how an example of a client you work with and your process. Would like to know a little
Mhm.
bit about what your onboarding is and how you break it down and why somebody would want to pick Hero when deciding to refresh their brand.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, even starting from no brand too is something that we like to do as well. And even we get approached by companies that they have an idea, they have a product, but they actually don't have a company name,
Yep.
and they don't have the nuts and bolts to the company yet, right? So they don't even have a mission statement, tagline, core value set. Those are all things that we come up with for them. So really, the way that we in our projects are very, very well dialed. And we start with the scientific component, which is a big part of my ethos, the science side and the art side too for myself. But the science side for us is what we call discovery. And so we really start and no two discovery processes are alike, right? So even when we're developing like a really, really big brand or something like that, we really get in and we do a launch meeting until we really start to figure out, okay, this is how this project shapes out. And then inside of discovery, if there is a website presence, we start pulling down the analytics, and then we apply heat mapping to see where people are going, what the clicks are like, what problems we're solving. And then we move into the focus group side, right? We get the key stakeholders. We might send surveys out to the employees or team members to see what their thoughts and opinions are. And then we start to craft that discovery based around that. So, you know, a really good example is we have one client in the cannabis space, and they came to us with a product category, but they weren't sure what the persona was going to be for their product type. And so we actually went into 7 retail shops and literally tracked in retail consumer data. So we were like one of the only individuals that have actual consumer data, and we were able to link it up in a bunch of different ways. So product type, category, age, perception of income, that kind of thing. And another one of our clients, Northwest Motorsport, we refreshed their brand not that long ago. Are you familiar with those guys at all?
I'm not. No.
No. Yeah, so they're the largest independent car dealership in America.
Okay.
And it's a Buhner, who's a baseball ex-Mariner baseball player, trucks, trucks, more trucks. That was kind of their hook. Well, another example is they approached us about doing a full brand refresh. And straight out of the gate, we were like, we knew that half of their inventory wasn't trucks, but that's all their commercials were pushing. And
Yeah.
so we, went in and assessed their inventory to figure out what the output is going to be. So that was a component of the discovery there. But no, like I had mentioned, no two discovery processes are alike, but the yield that is very similar from one another. So once that's completed, and we have crafted that together, the onboarding, we have a project management system. So all of the tasks based upon the proposal get transferred over into that, and we time keep and stuff in there, keeps our team on track and that kind of thing. And then we move over into the
Let
visual.
me jump in really quick on that. So just to compare notes, what's your favorite or what project management system do you use?
So, so we've had a lot. We've been through a lot
Everybody
here. So,
has.
oh man, it's like, so we went from Trello,
Yep.
right? And we were like, oh, it had so many different pitfalls. And then we went from Trello to another one that I can't even remember, over to Rike. And we went from the most simplest project management system to the most complicated Rike.
Yep.
And what we found was none of our teammates, including myself, were using Rike except for our web developer, who every meeting we would get on would just slam the creatives, be like, "You're not time tracking." So we ended up going back to Monday is
Yep.
our project, and we absolutely love it. We think it's great. It's clean. The user experience is great. Plus, it's got a robust set of tools that plug into all of our little applications that we use and that kind of thing.
Yeah, Monday's great. We use Asana
Mhm.
here, which is very
Mhm.
similar to Monday. So yeah, no, I just wanted to kind of chat a little quickly about your tools there. So once you
Yeah.
kind of run them through the project management and you've completed the discovery, kind of what's the next phase?
Yeah. So next phase, then we move into the visual side. So we start, and typically for refreshing the logo, we move into a mood board, right? So we deliver a bunch of different, iteration directions and brand directions to our client, and then that's a big checkpoint for us. And once that's kind of checked off and they understand our vision where we're taking the brand, then we move into our logo round, so the actual design iterations. And typically, typical project, we'll go only 2 iterations now for our, two and a half iterations, and then we do everything in black and white. So we actually don't touch color on first or second round, and then we colorize at the end. And so because of that diligence, that due diligence really that we do in the front half, once we move into the design side, none of our clients are like, how did you come up with that? Or like, where, I'm not seeing it. And that was something, Adam, that happened early on. I'm not kidding you. We literally would email out logo packages to clients and state in the email, please let us know what your feedback is. That's the dumbest thing I've ever done in my career. So, we went from that to really hand walking, producing high fidelity brand mock-ups so that the clients can like really see the vision.
Sure.
And then, yeah, so once that's complete, typically then we'll move into the content side. We bring in our content writer, Nick, at that point, and then we onboard internally. We do our discovery with our team as well. We run right through the presentation with our clients. And then once that's completed, website process is sneaky complicated. We build in PHP WordPress, and we do website mood board. We do website wireframes, high fidelity mockups in Adobe XD, and then development. And while we're doing really kind of while we're in design, that's when we start getting our content. So photography, we start compiling that. If it's product shots or what have you, we're starting to get that so that it doesn't hold web stuff up. And then once that's complete, we launch. We're our own hosting company as well. So we host just over 180 websites total right now. So we have a whole full fleshed out hosting management system for WordPress. And yeah, and then once that's done, typically at like the end, we'll be doing explainer videos or like buffer content and that kind of thing. And once the brand is turned over, just depending on the nature of their company, we will typically act like the marketing department for them. And if there's a marketing director, we kind of plug right in as backfill for them. So, for example, if they're like business cards, letterhead, whatever the package is, hey, Mark, can you do this for us? Or, you know, that's kind of when we start running the marketing department side for them. So,
Awesome, man. Sounds like you've developed your system, and after 10 years, you've ran through it a few times that you know what works and what doesn't work. And that's really the key, right? Is applying experiences to the next client so that it's faster and more beneficial for everybody.
yeah, and I make no mistake about it though. Like we in our company, we have a very distinct mentality of not really knowing or not really thinking we know everything. And so we have always, since our conception, have maintained this thought process of seeing creative through the eyes of a 3-year-old. Right? There is no box, there are no lines, and it's real limitless potential. And it's really interesting that that has always remained the same, no matter what that we're working on. In fact, the backstory of Hero was literally born. The name, the philosophy, and the thought was born by a 2.5-year-old kid, my son,
There you
who
go.
literally was in a field, and I happened to have my camera on me, and he stuck his blankie behind his neck, and I had total writer's block. I couldn't name the company, and I was like, couldn't write for us, and I was in the confines of a corporation, right? I was told how to act, how to speak, how to think. I was, given everything to say or do or behave or whatever. And I had writer's block, and I couldn't do creative. I couldn't paint, and I love painting. I could hardly play guitar anymore. I was just so in that corporate mindset. And it wasn't until that day when I saw my son, I grabbed my camera, shot a few shots, and I was like, my God, this 3-year-old has no boundaries, right? He is living his best life running in a field right now. And I was like, I am not looking at life or this company through the eyes of a creative. I'm looking at it through the eyes of somebody who's scared out of their mind for jumping out of an airplane into the space of entrepreneurship and still have to afford a mortgage, right? So once that happened, I reset and went home, named the company. And it was actually my son. We got in the car, and Foo Fighters was his favorite song, Hero. He got in the car, and I was like, my God, what am I going to name it? And I had like 30 names happening at one point. And my son gets in the car, and he's like, Dad, Hero, 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 in his like little 2.5-year-old voice. And I was like, oh my God, that's it, Hero. And so that's how it was born. Got home, totally write the business model, wrote the plan, wrote how it was going to stand up and stay, keep us out of the red and do it strategically while launching other services. So that's a little bit of the backstory.
Yeah, that's a cool story, and it's fun to have your
Yeah.
son be a part of that.
Oh
How
yeah.
many
Yeah,
kids?
for
How many
sure.
kids do you have, Mark?
We have two.
Okay, very cool. That's
Yeah.
awesome. Well, I'm lucky enough to have 3 boys. I got a almost 4-year-old, 6-year-old, and an 8-year-old. So,
Oh, nice. Yeah, we're kind of in the same pocket.
yeah. So it's an interesting time, as you know. Um,
Yeah, speaking of which, I never thought in a million years I would have to run a business, right? And and literally have my daughter on my left and my son on my right and be confined to a schoolroom for a year and a half. And I can't tell you, I it was that was a very crazy time to be like helping my daughter, who's was just in first part of kindergarten, help her like read and write into and completing first grade remotely, to my son who's in fifth grade. Talk about like real clutch years for these kids. So it was wild being on Zoom meetings and talking with clients, and then my daughter's like, Dad, how do I write this word? And it's like, transition from that over to, talking with clients and, working on stuff, but lots of late nights, as I'm sure you could attest to.
yeah, that's challenging. I had to come to the office because I couldn't do what you did, multitasking. That didn't work for me. But
Yeah.
no, that's great, man. I really like that story. That hero story is fun. So so this podcast was about, I named it for Future Driven, and the reason why is because I wanted to know and hear, so you've done a lot of great things in your career. You're doing some great things now with Hero, but what's next? What do you dream about daily? Where do you want to take creative, or what do you personally have planned? Is there anything you can share with us that on what you have planned in the future and where you're going?
Well, I love this question, by the way. So, technology is a sticky wicket, good, bad, and different. Technology is moving so fast. It's making life for agencies a lot easier in some ways, and in some ways, it's making life a little bit harder in certain instances. And it just seems like with every update, like for example, uh, Photoshop just pushed an update out that literally reduced something that would take me about 20 minutes per image in 2 clicks of a button. It does an action for you now.
Yeah.
And so the technology that these really large companies like the Adobe suite and what they're doing there, and other companies like Canva, we do like to use Canva for certain elements in our company.
Yep.
Um, but that technology is totally changing, and I think for us, we absolutely will live and die by our ability to quickly adopt new technology. um, and so we really keep uh, our finger on the pulse, not only with like web development, but making sure that we're keeping our eyes on new technologies that are driving web development, because code too is kind of an unseen thing. And we need to continue to discover it. And so we all hold this very humble attitude that we're still progressively learning, and we're doing today better than yesterday is kind of our mentality. And with technology and the advent, how quickly things change, Google pushes out, one random thing, and all of our organic, SEO is gone on our websites, and we have to make sure that we're watching out for that kind of thing. So for Hero, I think, just off the top, it's very humble, even owning an agency, and I feel privileged to be a small business owner. And although I'm not flying skydiving currently, um, but to me, this agency is like skydiving, and it's like my form of flight. So I think for me, just walking in the door gives me a sense of exhilaration. And every single day poses a new set of challenges and new clients that come in with new ideas and new things for us, and challenges for us to solve. I think for us, I really would like to work on, a really, really big impact project that really, really changes people's lives. And I'd love to do that in the next 5 years for us. And we've done a few with like the Make a Wish Foundation, where we rebuilt an API call that allows for them to basically ping airlines. So if you donate airline miles, there's not a lot of heavy lifting that happens on the Make a Wish side. Well, we've seen like 1,000 or some odd percent increase in mileage donations, because it's so fast for people to donate miles, and that's a really big vehicle where people can help that foundation out, because a lot of the wishes are travel wishes. And actually, I didn't even mention this, but over COVID, one of the things that helped me keep going was, there was a Wish kid who, this hasn't happened in the 10 years that I've been working with them, or maybe it has a few times, but this Wish kid wanted to be a photographer, and she wanted photo lessons. And so I met with her every single week, taught her photography. And finally, after like 4 months of working with her, I was able to drive down to Ocean Shores and deliver like a bunch of professional gear, from cameras, lenses, the whole thing to her. I would really love to do a project that again really really has a positive impact on society, whether it's philanthropic or paid. That would be a career, marker for me, I think. So I'm not sure what that looks like, but yeah, that's kind of a little bit of a goal.
Cool. I like it, man. Well, you're leading with passion, which is, the number one thing, right? If you don't love what you do, it's not worth it. So it sounds like you're really enjoying what you're doing at Hero, and you're doing it for a greater purpose, which is even better. So that's awesome, man. Well, hey, I really appreciate you taking the time and jumping on and telling your story. So thanks so much, man.
Yeah, thanks for having me on, Adam. I appreciate it. It was fun.
Absolutely.